Why, hello there. Let's get a taste of how the shadows look and the different rendering methods in Engine. Now, I've organized a basic sample test project, and the sun is right in the perfect place in the sky to give us just a couple of shadows. And we're going to really zoom in and look at the quality of shadows. Now, just to start with a basic treat, this is how, oh my goodness, my dog is barking. This is how the scene looks with fully ray traced shadows all around. But before we talk about the advanced methods, let's look at something a little bit simpler. Let's do no shadows so you can see the scene right now with all the beautiful lighting and reflection. Let's make a change. So the first thing is I'm going to go over to ray tracing and turn that setting off. So these are fully rasterized shadows. Now let's go into the graphics settings and turn shadow quality to low. Much better. So with shadow quality fundamentally set to low, you can see that there are no shadows being rendered. This is like the super cheap, I am on a low-end PC, but I want to be able to play your game. And this is really the setting that every dev should just have because not everybody has the money to afford the best. And there are situations where it's like, look, I love your game, but I don't have the graphical power. This is an option that's super important. Now, I want to show you how I've set up those options. So I'll quickly go into the menu that I set up, select the main menu widget, and go into the graph. So it's a pretty comprehensive graph, right? You can see lots of different options. There are the ray tracing options. I hope that's reasonably visible. This is motion blur. We don't need to go into that. And this is shadow quality. Now, Unreal Engine gives you some pretty direct pathways to altering raster shadows. Okay, here's my mouse back on screen. So at the simplest level, we have our low shadow quality. And this is what you would set up for the low shadows. So once the shadow setting, we will simply set the shadow quality to, it's the in-engine setting called 0, but we'll also check as we apply the setting for command line overrides. That will be important for when I start talking about ray tracing. And the end result of that is we give the player the most performance possible by just not even working on shadows at all. So that's the result. But let's be real. This this is so 2006. Let's upgrade the graphics just a little bit. So back into the options, go into the graphics settings, and now let's set the shadow quality from low to medium. Now these are medium shadows. If we look intensely at the shadows, we can see that the line the shadow gives is a bit fuzzy. Okay, I hope YouTube compression doesn't crash this. Now, while we're seeing it from far, I think YouTube won't show you the real difference. So let me quickly go into the developer camera. So if you look carefully at the ground, you can see the little slightly lower resolution shadow that is being cast. But this is a rasterized shadow, okay? So there's no crazy bounces going everywhere. It is simple and calculated, which is really cool. Okay, let me come out of the developer camera. And if I close the game, that is the in-engine baseline medium shadow quality, which is cool. But let's now look at the actual high shadow quality, which will be set when we basically set it inside the engine. So I'll run over to the exact same spot and location. Okay, look at the sun, look at the flowers. Okay, the flowers are kind of cool. Okay, now going to options, graphics, but this time we'll let the player select high quality shadows. Okay, so now that we've changed the shadow settings, sorry for exiting. Now these are high quality shadows. Notice, keep in mind they are still rasterized shadows, but there are now light shafts being included, and there is much more addition of things like, the change in light color as sun passes through the atmosphere. And that's a pretty big and substantial change. However, by going to the developer cam, the shadow resolution isn't absolutely totally nuts. Of course, it increases the closer we get, but looking at it from far, the specific targeted resolution of the shadows isn't absolutely crazy. But let's say that we now go into ray traced shadows, okay? So to get the ray traced shadows is a bit more complex than just selecting something in Engine, because to get the ray traced effects, you actually have to execute a ray command inside of Unreal Engine, and then change the global illumination method. Now, for simplicity's sake, I've set it up so that at ray tracing performance, you get ray tracing on effects, and then you get ray tracing on basic light global illumination, but you don't get ray traced shadows, and you don't get ray you don't get ray traced reflections, okay? On medium, you get the addition of ray traced reflections, and on the maximum, yeah, you also get ray traced shadows. So we'll be able to look and see how that difference actually looks like. All right, so let's look at ray tracing. So right now we have it at maximum shadow quality, but ray tracing is entirely off. Now let's make the adjustment. Here's a funny thing inside of Unreal Engine. When I turn on performance ray tracing, you'll notice a big visual difference in how the shadows are interacting. And I'll go in and show you how they look up close between performance, balance. You'll notice there's a bit of lag, and quality in the world. But you'll notice, let me show you quality. Now it's actually counting and bouncing rays off. So the shadows will look a bit fuzzier, less sharp, but they're going to be a lot more accurate. Okay? They're going to be significantly more accurate. You can see how smooth the shadow is right now due to ray tracing from the building. However, if I were to turn off ray tracing, notice that the shadows become a lot harsher. Here, the shadow is a line, that's without ray tracing. But when you add in the ray tracing quality, now all of a sudden, the shadow is more fuzzy because it's simulating how light is going to be bouncing. Okay, so that's really the fundamental visual difference with ray tracing. You'll also notice the leaves have their rays being calculated based off movement of leaves of that tree as well. That's what's causing the difference. And it does make a pretty dramatic impact on everything. You can notice the movement of shadows in these leaves over here with ray tracing. However, if I turn off ray tracing, then even if the leaves move, there really isn't that much casting on top of them. Okay. So that's really what you're getting when you add ray tracing into your game. But please give players the options. So if someone has really cool hardware, they can come in and have ray tracing maxed out and shadow quality maxed out. Here's another fun thing. Even if ray tracing is set to quality, If you set shadow quality to low, then it will take away all of the ray tracing effects because of how RT is calculated inside Unreal Engine. So you can actually separate the shadows and lighting from having RT. You can have shadows medium, but ray tracing maxed out. So those settings can all be adjusted by your players. Anyway, that's the simple overview of the different ray tracing and shadow rendering methods inside of Unreal Engine 5. I hope that was helpful to you. Have a good day. Now, ray tracing is one of many things that you can use inside of Unreal Engine, inside of your menu settings. Now, there's a lot more to talk about, including changing players' inputs, as well as lots of different VSync settings and frame rate limiters. There's really a lot of cool settings inside of Unreal Engine. And while the look of this is a little bit not pretty, it is very functional. So you can learn how to make control settings, including aim sensitivity, and being able to change the different settings and inputs, learn how to adjust different audios and switching from different languages and subtitles. And last but not least, all the different cool graphics settings inside of Unreal Engine. That's what you're into. I'm going to leave a link in the description for my course. Now, I've taught over 3,900 students, and the reviews have been pretty positive. And the main menu beginner class, which is what I call it, is available literally at $9.99. So you're getting it at a discount in the link below. Otherwise, you have a good week ahead.